We'll start with Commissioner Sankey. Keener, what stood out about what we heard from the commission?
Well, nothing drastic, right? I mean, we knew that there wasn't likely going to be a future schedule conference type announcement in terms of scheduling.
Or Texas, Oklahoma joining the SEC like last year?
Yeah, exactly. And, I mean, even if, there was big news like that, I mean, the commissioner of the SEC is not going to announce it day one, right? So, nothing huge. He did say that Oklahoma and Texas leadership, AD presidents, have been sitting in on some of the meetings, and so they've been a part of the process. Didn't invite him to spring meetings in Destin a couple of months ago because he knew that'd be too much of a distraction, but they are, in talks about the future of the conference, so I found that noteworthy. Continue to say there needs to be reform for name, image, and likeness, that, what's happening right now is not what it was intended to do, so kind of asking for some reform. And then another thing, in terms of conference expansion, all these hot topics we knew would kind of dominate the week here. He said, hey, we're good at 16 teams. That doesn't mean we will never move on from it, but right now we're good, and it feels good to have schools pick up the phone and call you.
Well, I thought it was interesting, too, that he kind of admitted that they were looking at the landscape in college football and just kind of seeing what's going on rather than them always claiming that they're just doing what they do and everyone else kind of follows them. He did reference the SEC as a super conference, which they pretty much are. Yeah. And then also the college football playoff talk with the automatic bids. He's absolutely right. If you're going to expand it, then you got to get rid of those automatic qualifiers. The SEC is good with that. The Big Ten now is starting to realize that that's the way to go. All right, speaking of rotation, LSU, early in the day, what'd you hear from Brian Kelly and the LSU players?
Excitement, year one, a lot of just let's get to camp, let's get football underway. We've had transition, we've had all these interviews and talking about this new coach how they differ and all that. Brian Kelly said that he's got a New England, a Boston, a Notre Dame, a Southern accent now. He says he can do a little bit of everything. He made fun of himself, which was good to see because clearly he was hilarious back in the day, at that halftime ordeal whenever he said family. So was making fun of himself. That was good to see. But he got asked some funny questions, man. He was asked, hey, did you consider moving to the SEC because Alabama kept killing you at Notre Dame? And he was like, not really, no. But I think that they are ready to get that new, fresh start at LSU with the Brian Kelly era underway.
Yeah, Mike Jones was adamant. He's like, look, he is a winner. No. We know what his track record was. I think he handled himself today pretty well. I think he did a good job at SEC spring meetings in Destin as well. Ole Miss, Missouri. Let's start with the Lane train. The thing that stood out to me was, dude, that tan is absolutely 5-star. I mean, my goodness, nobody has a better tan than Lane Kiffin today.
I mean, he's a cool kid on the block. He's got a nice suit. He's got a nice shoe game. He's got the tan.
Signed a mustard bottle.
Yeah. He came over and spoke with Jimmy. Jimmy said, will you sign my golf ball? Literally pulled out a golf ball. Yeah. I mean, about the same for Lane. Lane's complaining about name, image, and likeness because Lane has no funding at Oxford. I mean, point blank. I know this is going TSL right now, but he continues to beat the table and beat his chest about how name, image, and likeness is a bad thing for college football. I'm just curious if he was at another institution, if he would feel the same way. But that was kind of his message today. The players excited to play for him, love playing for him, love his swagger. Something that they mentioned a couple times throughout the day. But I think the excitement from Ole Miss last year, even though there's a whole lot of transition, I think they're ready to try to pick up right where they left off with, a new quarterback and likely Jackson Dart.
All right, Missouri, Eli Drinkwitz, one of his players referred to him as Dad Joke Central. We know someone like that, don't we? At the Sports Center. So what did you hear from Missouri today?
I think the players are just excited about kind of moving on. Last year wasn't fun. They had some talent on that team too. And I mean, there's a lot of us, myself included, saying, "Hey, Missouri might, race for third place in the SEC East," and they were very underwhelming. So I think trying to put 2021 in the rearview mirror, breaking in a new quarterback. Team still rallies and still believes and still loves them. Some Eli Drinkwitz, he's a player's coach, and we heard that for some players, and of course, with kind of this message out there today. So I think they're ready. At least what I got from Missouri today is put last year behind you, move on, despite a whole new cast of characters.
And then back to LSU, their best player, Keyshawn Boutte, earning the number 7 that the best LSU players wear, not here.
Not here. And you have Brian Kelly just going on and on and on about how great of a guy he is. If he's that great of a guy, why isn't he here? I mean, so you don't bring everybody, you can't bring everybody, but that's what this is for, Vince. You want the best players, and all that. So it was really disappointing that Keyshawn Boutte wasn't here.
Yeah, tomorrow we'll have Alabama, Vanderbilt in the morning session, Mississippi State, South Carolina. Of course, Tennessee Volunteers going on Thursday. Hendon Hooker, Cedric Tillman, and Trayvon Flowers, along with head coach Josh Heupel. Complete coverage. We have podcasts. You can subscribe to the SEC Football Media Days podcast anywhere you get your podcast. You can get to it on the Central page, podcast section on our website at 991thesportsanimal.com. All of our social media accounts, SportsAnimal991, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. Make sure you give us a follow and check. All the content is out there for you. And this is just day one. We got 2 more days of it. Jay Lyford, our MVP, running the show as our engineer and producer, and Jimmy Himes, of course, co-hosting Sports Talk from here and doing a million interviews and get one-on-ones from all of us throughout the week as well. He's Eric Kane. I'm Vince Ferrara. Thanks for watching Day 1 wrap-up here at SEC Football Media Days. Good night.